This Saturday, Impact Wrestling hold their biggest event of the summer, Slammiversary. Last year, following the mass WWE releases, Impact began to tease several names for the 2020 edition of the event. This led to 8 debuts and returns on the night, including the Good Brothers Heath Slater, ERICK Young, EC3, and veteran TNA tag team the Motor City Machine Guns. This year, the successful marketing campaign of 2020 is being repeated, with many names once again being teased, including many of this year's WWE releases. In today's video, we take a look at 10 wrestlers who could appear at Impact Slammiversary this Saturday night, including some who have been teased by Impact themselves and some who I feel could show up regardless. And before we get into the list, if you're going to be checking out the pay-per-view this Saturday, make sure you use our Fight affiliate link in the description below, where the event is available for $19.99. Mickie James is one of the most recognizable names in Impact Wrestling history. Dubbed Hardcore Country, she went on to become a 3-time Knockouts champion and one of the division's greatest stars. After she left Impact in 2015, she would return for an underwhelming stint in WWE. She was later released on April 15th of this year, before infamously receiving her belongings in a trash bag. Not only did Mickie feature in the Slammiversary hype video, but on the June 17th edition of Impact Wrestling, Kiera Hogan was thrown into a dumpster backstage by Havoc, where a trash bag could be seen with Mickie's name written on it, a clear reference to her WWE release. This is the clearest indicator of any of the WWE releases coming to the Impact roster, and with Impact Knockouts champion Deonna Purrazzo's challenger for Slammiversary yet to be named, James would be the perfect opponent. Mickie's non-compete clause ends the day before the show, which makes her a prime candidate. While she is signed to NWA as an executive producer and is scheduled to wrestle a match, she is available to work elsewhere at the same time. Kalisto is a former United States NXT Tag Team and Cruiserweight Champion in WWE, and much like Mickie, is available to work at Slammiversary with his non-compete clause ending the day before. Now returning to his former name of Samurai Del Sol, he could show up in the Ultimate X match where Josh Alexander will defend his title against 5 of the X Division's finest, and Impact aren't new to adding opponents to title matches at the last moment. To see Kalisto in a match that's made to do lucha things would be perfect. On social media, he's teased a move over to the world of boxing, posting a trailer hinting he'd work for Triller, but if he continues to wrestle whilst doing his boxing training, going toe-to-toe with the likes of Chris Bay, TJP or Ace Austin could lead to some of the greatest X Division matches in recent history. Wesley Blake was known for his role in the Blake and Murphy tag team in NXT, putting on several great matches, even going as far as to winning the tag team titles on the Black and Gold brand. Following a few solo appearances in NXT, Blake would begin to appear as part of a new faction, the Forgotten Sons, alongside Jackson Ryker and Steve Cutler. The group would be called up to the main roster early on in the pandemic era, before disappearing from television after his stablemate Ryker made some controversial social media posts. Ironically, Jackson Ryker is still signed to the company, whilst Blake and Steve Cutler have been released. Blake is available to work wherever he chooses, as like Mickie and Kalisto, his non-compete clause ends the day before the event. He could well follow in the footsteps of his former stablemate Steve Cutler, who is signed to Impact under his new name of Steve Macklin, perhaps to form a tag team. Alternatively, a role as Violent by Design's designated X Division wrestler could be fitting too. Eric Rowan spent his years in the WWE as a devoted Wyatt family member before his run in the Bludgeon Brothers tag team alongside Luke Harper, then going on to make friends with a Spider before being released in 2020 during the infamous Black Wednesday cuts. Now known as Eric Redbeard, he's only made 2 notable wrestling appearances since his release. First competing in the ring for the UWN World Title Tournament, losing to Fred Rosa by disqualification. Then in unfortunate circumstances, he made his AEW debut during the tribute show to his fallen brother Brody Lee, holding a sign that read, "Goodbye for now, my brother, see you down the road." Redbeard is still a free agent, and a move to the Impact Zone would hold plenty of opportunities for the big man. Joining Violent by Design, a dominant singles run, or becoming somebody else's heavy would be roles Redbeard could make his own. ENZO AMORE is one of the most controversial stars in wrestling, garnering heat backstage to his detriment. Great on the microphone, AMORE knew how to get a crowd excited as he walked to the ring with his assortment of catchphrases. He would be released from WWE at the beginning of 2018 and would retire to focus on his music career. Now known as simply ENZO, he has gone on to take bookings on the independent circuit, sometimes alongside his former tag team partner Big Cass, who is now in Impact Wrestling, and is most recently booked to take on Aiden English at an upcoming Battleground Championship Wrestling event. If ENZO were to ever debut in Impact Wrestling as a manager or tag team partner for the rising Impact star W. Morrissey, who is the aforementioned Big Cass, this would make a lot of sense. Morrissey will be facing Eddie Edwards at Slammiversary and is no doubt the favourite to win the match, with it being seen as a stepping stone towards Morrissey's ascension to the main event. Although Morrissey has the size and power to reach the top, he lacks the promo ability that the heat-seeking ENZO could provide. Teased in the original Slammiversary trailer that hinted at several release stars signing for Impact, the Iconics would be an excellent fit for the promotion. Peyton Royce and Billie Kay would fit perfectly in Impact since the promotion reintroduced their Knockouts Tag Championships at Bound for Glory last year. The two were part of the April 15th releases, which again means they are available for the show. The only concern is their working status in the United States, after the duo recently revealed that they cannot currently work in the country after WWE let them go. Whether this has since been resolved is not clear, but perhaps a contract with Impact could be enough to give them the green light, although I'm not too familiar with the immigration system in America, but let's hope this situation can be sorted if it hasn't been already. Chelsea Green made her debut on SmackDown earlier this year before an injury derailed her main roster run. Once released, she would ask WWE to cut her non-compete clause short before debuting at the Ring of Honor Best in the World pay-per-view as part of the Women of Honor Championship tournament. With that said, Green has not signed an exclusive contract with Ring of Honor, still making her technically a free agent, and she has expressed interest in working for different promotions around the world. It's not unusual to see a Ring of Honor star appear in Impact Wrestling and vice versa, as last year EC3 would appear for both companies. The Hot Mess is an obvious candidate to take on Deonna Purrazzo for the Knockouts title, which would mark the former champion's first Impact appearance since 2018. And quickly, just before we continue, make sure you scroll down and drop a like and subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss any upcoming wrestling content as we head towards 20,000 subscribers. But now that you've done that, let's get on with the rest of the video. The AEW Women's World Champion, Dr. Britt Baker, D.M.D, is no slouch when it comes to speaking her mind. As a longtime friend of Knockouts champion Deonna Purrazzo, a match between the two has been teased on social media but never addressed on a public wrestling broadcast. Scott D'Amore, who is the Executive Vice President of Impact, recently appeared on Vicky Guerrero's Excuse Me podcast, where he claimed Baker confronted him in Jacksonville, Florida recently, asking for a match with Deonna. As we've mentioned, Purrazzo is scheduled to face a mystery opponent at Slammiversary, and if Baker fills this slot, it would be the first time they've shared a ring in 4 years. With AEW and Impact having a public working relationship, this champion versus champion match is more than possible. And speaking of AEW, next up we have Andrade El Idolo. In the initial Slammiversary hype video that we've mentioned many times throughout this video, Andrade was one of the names teased. On this week's episode of AEW Dynamite, it was revealed that Andrade had permission to break down the proverbial forbidden door and to win titles all around the world, which makes his appearance at Slammiversary that much more likely. The Luchador would be an excellent fit for the X Division, but also has the star power to headline Impact shows as their world champion after a few top-tier feuds. This one seems less likely than the others on the list, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities that Impact could have themselves a new idol. Daniel Bryan established a highly regarded independent wrestling career, becoming one of the best wrestlers in the world long before his famous WWE run. Bryan's WWE contract expired shortly after WrestleMania 37 earlier this year, which resulted in rumors as to what his future may hold. Impact did tease a yes graphic during the Impact Wrestling Slammiversary promotional video, which is why he makes this list, and whilst the likelihood of Bryan Danielson debuting for Impact Wrestling this Saturday is low, as the saying goes, in wrestling anything is possible. Bryan has never competed for Impact Wrestling or TNA in his career, but if he were to make the jump, it would undoubtedly be the biggest signing they've made since the days of Kurt Angle and Sting. And with speculation of a Bryan Danielson World Tour on the horizon, wouldn't it be great to see the American Dragon's first stop being at Slammiversary this Saturday? And before you go, why not check out my video where I rank the 10 best AEW debuts of all time.